Look, look, we're stuck in the system, we can't get out. It's time for a change, stop running your mouth. I'm looking for words, but I can't get it out. Look for the light, but the sun blotted out.
Hold on, let me hop on the beat. Cause social injustice and prisoner mindset is something we gotta defeat. We idle these hoes and wear all these clothes with shoes that can't be creased. Steady looking for substance and change, but we searching all up in these streets.
Peace, peace, peace. Top of the top to y'all. Top of the top and welcome. Welcome to Top of the Top with King Phillip. Man, this is our 24th, 25th. I don't know if I'm still counting on what episode this is that we rocking with, but we here. You know what I'm saying? You know, so let me go ahead and kick off this disclaimer real quick, real fast, and in a hurry if you don't mind. So, you know, you tapped into the Make a Chess Move, the Make a Culture Move podcast, where we do the Top of the Top with King Phillip, where we're talking about the issues within the Black and brown community. You know what I mean? And some of these issues have data, some of them don't. Some of these issues are still being, there's still data being collected. All right, and what I mean by that, so this is my thing. I feel like we are the experts. I don't need to go and provide y'all with data and extra resources on and all that other stuff when they come to us to provide the data for them to make them the experts. So, you know what I mean? Said all that to say, yeah, we don't need them paperback games and all that other stuff that they be talking about stuff too. You know what I mean? Top of the top to you. You know what I mean? So also some of the things that we say within this podcast, you know, some folks may feel some kind of way. I'm going to tell you to, you know, take that time to reevaluate why it made you feel that way. All right? You don't have to come to me like, oh, I'm going to give Phillip a piece of my mind and I can't wait till I see him. Ooh. Nah, man, I'm going to just look at you like, dumb as the fuck. All right? Said all that to say that. So, yeah, that's where we pushing. You know what I mean? So, you know, let's go ahead and do our quick little run through. Y'all know how we do our run through. You know what I mean? It ain't new to some of y'all. Some of y'all is brand new too. If you haven't already, go check out the website, makeachessmove.org. You know, it's a beautiful thing. All right. On there, we're getting ready to put our schedule on there of everything that we got going on. So y'all can just go to the website, see what we got going on for that day, click it for that time. And boom, you'll be up in there. You know what I mean? In there like Flynn. You know what I mean? What they say, in there like swimwear. You know, where there's air, I'm there. You know what I mean? So, you know, go check out the website. But more specifically, click the donation tab. I'm not saying make a donation. All right? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is click the donation tab. We have a toolkit on our website where you can copy and paste a picture. You can copy and paste some text. And you can send that to your folks via text message, via email. You can push it on your social medias, however you want to do it like that. All right, that's what we push, you know, on our folks. You know, we want to backdoor them donation things, you know what I mean? So if your folks come through and see what we doing, and if they like, oh yeah, I fucks with what they doing, they really on there, you know what I mean? Then yeah, make that, you know what I mean? And it's all authentic. You know, so check out the website. If you haven't, Macam /303, that's everything. So check out the Facebook page.com Macam303. All right. Check out the Instagram /Macam303. Check out the Twitter /Macam303. And go ahead and slide through that pin interest thing. You know what I mean? /Macam303. You know, everything that we got on all the content, you're going to see something different. All right, so go ahead and check it out. Let me know what y'all think. We got a Tumblr joint too. You know what I mean? You go on Tumblr and /Macam303, you'll see that joint. You know what I mean? I just don't know the URL. It's something crazy. You know what I mean? But today we talking about weed smoking. Woo! Wait, Phillip, why would you want to go there? Why you going there, Phillip? Phillip, come on, man, don't do that. Y'all gotta excuse me, my bad. Ooh-wee, yeah, we going there. All right, we are going there. So before we go there, I want to put it out there to y'all too, just to let y'all know that if y'all have any questions that y'all want to ask me, you know what I mean? If y'all haven't peeped the stories and I share my story, plenty of times. You know what I mean? So there's many avenues where you can hear the full story on the internet. You know what I mean? We got it on the Make a Chess Move page with the vast storytelling. You know what I mean? All that. So saying all that to say, if you don't know, you know what I mean, and if you have some questions that you want to ask me, go ahead, ask me some questions. I'm gonna keep it a whole honey bun. It's no problem. You know what I mean? I don't flex or I don't shrug or I don't get nervous when it comes to keeping it a honey bun. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of time that I'm on. You know what I mean? So we're talking about weed smoking today. We're talking about weed smoking today. You know, and I would say I got credibility when it comes to weed smoking and talking about weed smoking, because the first time I smoked weed was it was my 13th birthday. All right, it was my 13th birthday, and you know I was with my older cousin. All right, this is my favorite. This is the cousin who I looked up to. You know what I mean? If you know my story, you know who I'm talking about. All right, he came and picked me up on my birthday. I was over at my mom's house sleep. You know what I mean? And the thing with him is, anytime he come to get me, I'm gonna stop doing whatever I'm doing and go ride with Cuzzo, because that's my favorite cousin. Sure, everything that he got, he had the switches in his car. He let me hit the switch a couple of times. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Any little ones, anything that he see, man, Cuzzo, you got that. Go ahead, get that. You know what I mean? So anytime, that was the move when I ran with my cousin, you know what I mean? So he came in, he's like, yeah, come on, Auntie Boo, let me take him out to go see a movie. You know what I mean? So she was already looking at him like, nigga, don't be bullshitting me and stuff like that. So long story short, this is around the time too, we ain't gonna get into that. But this is my 13th birthday. All right, so she let me go. You know what I mean? She let me go. At this time, my older cousin, he has already gotten kicked out of my grandma's house. I'm staying with my grandma, but at this time, I'm celebrating my birthday with my mom. All right? So we go, you know, I'm in the car. He got the loud music on, the beats. And I mean, them joints are so loud, they hurting my ears, but I wasn't going to say nothing. I was just going to keep bobbing my head to some 40. You know what I mean? Because that's what we was listening to. But we were slapping out to the 40 back then too, what I'm still slapping out to this day. But saying all that to say, you know, we pulled up to his house. I'm like, this don't look like the movies. So he like, yeah, come on, cousin, we gonna run in here real quick. That was the first time I heard him say real quick, and not meaning real quick. All right. Dang, y'all probably couldn't even hear me. The microphone and everything was behind me, and y'all wasn't gonna say nothing. Look, whole time I thought I wasn't shit. All right. So like I was saying though, so we in the house, we chilling. He just pulled out a big old sack of weed. All right. And he, you know, back then, that's when they had them Philly blunts. All right, nowadays, they don't even have the Philly blunts. I don't even see the Philly blunts nowadays, you know what I mean? They got them big old cigarillos, the Swisher Sweets. You know, they got the blunt Swisher Sweets, but they ain't got the Philly blunts that came in a tube, you know what I mean? But he handed me a pack of Philly blunts, great flavor, and he told me to roll up. Mind you, I'm 13, I'm fresh out of 12. I probably still had shit stains in my drawers. You know what I mean? I was still fresh on cartoons and all that other shit. He told me to roll up. Like, what? Roll up? I wasn't going to say I don't know how to. I wasn't going to, you know what I mean? None of that. I took it like a champ. You know, I'm seeing him do his thing too. You know, so I'm rolling up. I'm seeing him on the side rolling up, so I'm seeing what he's doing, and I'm trying to mimic everything that he's doing. So I see him breaking up the weed on a tray, you know what I mean? So I'm doing the same thing, and then I see him get the cigar, and then he grabbed the knife, or it was a razor, one of the two, and he split that joint down the middle. So I went on ahead and I grabbed the cigar too. I grabbed the razor, you know what I mean? And I split that joint down the middle. When it came to the actual rolling process, that was a whole nother story. But long story short, out of that 5 packs, I got one of them out of there. You know what I mean? So once I wrote it, I gave it to him. He was like, nah, that's you, cuzzo. Happy birthday. You know what I mean? That's you. Happy birthday. You know, I was looking at it like, oh, shoot. You know what I mean? I mean, blunt about the size of this remote right here. Happy. I see him, I see him fired up. He tossed me the lighter. Mind you, I'm fresh out of 12. A fresh 13-year-old. Tossed me the lighter. I sparked mine. You know what I mean? I'm coughing. Of course, that's my first time smoking. But, I don't remember the whole experience to say that. Long story short, I don't remember that experience. You know what I mean? Much more after that. It was a real haze. So, said that to give y'all a little background on my credibility when it comes to this here weed smoking. All right. I would say I'm you can call me Dr. Phil when it comes to this here weed smoking. All right. I didn't start smoking. I didn't start smoking until like I had got out of high school. And I would say when my grandma had passed. So when my mom passed, I had picked it up more, but I was more of a drinker then. In high school, I had facial hair, so I was able to buy liquor. So I was always on the drinks while the homies was smoking. I was like, sure, I'm an athlete. I ain't gonna smoke. You know what I mean? So long story short, when my grandma had passed, that's when I started smoking like a train, and that was in 2003. That was a pattern that I had when it came to smoking. When my mom, when my grandma, when my sister, when somebody in my family had passed, my first go-to was to get high. And I'm smoking, you know what I mean? I'm smoking one, I got one in this ear, and I'm rolling up another one. You know what I mean? While I got a whole pack filled with pre-rolled blunts. All right. So I don't want to have to stop and roll up again if I'm coming down. So that was my whole attitude. Like I would get high just to, hide from the pain of the death that I was dealing with. You know what I mean? And then I would come down to deal with that pain again, and I would go ahead and get high again. So I was chain smoking blunts. All right. But me, at the end of the day, I didn't realize that I couldn't not face what was right in front of me. I could not face what I had to face eventually. You know what I mean? And it was crazy because I was in a whole federal indictment when I was still smoking weed. They let me. I'm going to say that they allowed me to drop 11 hot UAs. I would go into my therapy sessions. I would curse them out, tell the lady she lying. They didn't catch me with no hot UA because I'm using all kind of different tactics and different, stuff that they got out here to piss clean. Nothing worked. All right. Nothing worked. So they let me drop 11 hot UAs before they locked me up. So in prison, my sister died in 2007. I was on bond in 2007. I violated my bond in 2007. I got locked back up in 2007. I had to face that death sober as the fuck in prison. I didn't realize that I was going to be able to do it. I had no choice but to do it. You know what I mean? So looking at that escape right there with weed and marijuana, you know what I mean? Number one, looking at my early introduction to weed. And I know some people smoke sooner than me and been on it heavier than me. Looking at all that, looking at the culture that Here, cuzzo, happy birthday. You know what I mean? Like, nigga, a blunt to a fresh, out of 12 to a fresh 13-year-old. Happy birthday. That's the culture that we grew up in. That's what we was raised in. You know, so nobody, and mind you, my mom, she knew what it was then. She didn't want my grandma to find out. My mom, she knew what it was when I had came back the next day. He didn't bring me back after the quote unquote movie. He knew he couldn't bring me back how I was. So the next day, when I woke up, everything like that, we went out to breakfast and everything, to IHOP. You know what I mean? Everything. But when I got home, she knew what it was. She didn't want my grandma to find out. She probably gave him an earful, you know what I mean? But at the same time, that didn't stop our relationship. That didn't stop my mom from passing me off to him whenever she had me, type of deal. You know what I mean? So I'm saying that to say, let's look at the culture of we within a community, within the black community, because that's almost like an introduction. I remember with my younger brother, when he had turned, I think he had turned 15 or I can't remember. One of these ages he had turned. All right. I'm gonna just say that. One of these ages he had turned. All right. He and my little brother, he always used to want to kick it with us. You know, and I'm 8 years older than him. All right. Mind you, I'm 8 years older than him. He but that's my little nigga though too. You know what I mean? I do anything for my little brother. But saying all that to say, you know, I remember when he had turned that age, whatever age it was, you know, it was like an introduction to weed too. I knew the little nigga was already smoking and stuff too, from what his little friends and stuff was telling me, and from the little homies who I know he was running with. You know what I mean? But I wanted to get that introduction with him and myself personally. You know, this brother stuff. You know what I mean? So, I mean, and the thing is, at that time, my little brother, he was a big one. So I think it was his 15th birthday. I believe it was his 15th birthday. All right. And my little brother at 15, he was a big one. You know what I mean? He was a big one. Like the type to thing that he could see big brother. You know what I mean? Because he's bigger than big brother. I got a big... I gave him them things and I slammed him. He learned a lesson that day. You know what I mean? He learned a lesson that day that he still carry on to this day. You know, so said all that to say, you know, it was the same kind of rites of passage what I did with my younger brother. You know, we went to the homie house. You know what I mean? And the thing is, with my younger brother was, you know, with him being so big. And with him all, and the thing is, when I asked him if he was smoking, he was like, nah. If I asked him if he ever smoked, he was like, nah. This nigga lying out of his teeth. All right, I'm gonna just say that much. Right when we got to it, I mean, this know how to inhale everything. My cousin, he had to teach me how to inhale. All right, he had to teach me. Once I smoke, breathe in. You know what I mean? Like that was the when it was done for me. But my little brother at that time, he already knew how to inhale. He was holding it in, all that. He was smoking like a pro. I'm sitting up this. I'm like, damn. So the whole time, you know, long story short, how is weed and smoking with younger siblings become a rites of passage? How's weed and smoking with your children, you know, become a rites of passage? All right. I know some parents. I know some parents who would rather teach their youth, teach their children about weed openly. To say, number one, if your child comes to you and it's like, if number one is of age, or if you believe they're of age, because they starting as early as, I heard 9 years old once upon a time. I've heard 11 years old. I've heard 8 years old once upon a time. I've seen little kids on a Facebook
smoking that couldn't be no older than double digits. So they starting early. That's what I'm getting to. So even with parents is, is introducing, I'm gonna ask that. As parents. Ooh, as parents, is introducing weed to your children bad? That's the first question that I'm going to ask. That is the first question that I'm going to ask. All right. Let me go ahead and post it up here. Is introducing weed to your children bad? That's where we at right now. That's what I'm asking. Is introducing weed to your children bad? I made you right back now. That's my first question, what I'm asking. All right? That is my first question that I'm asking. Because I know some parents who openly sit down and smoke with you. You know what I mean? I remember when we were younger, the homie's mom, we used to be over at his crib all day long smoking, blazing. I mean, hot boxing. Boy, let me tell you, if them walls could talk all day. So, but the thing is, his mom didn't like the smell of them blunts. She liked them damn blunts. She hate them damn blunts. That's all. It was always them damn blunts. You know what I mean? Always. But we didn't stop smoking them damn blunts. That's all we knew. You know what I mean? That's all we knew. So what she did was she came down one time and she set us all down and taught us all how to roll joints. She taught us all how to roll joints. She set us all down and taught us how to roll joints in an attempt to get us off of them damn blunts. You know what I mean? And coming back down to, is introducing weed to your children bad? Let's talk about it. Me as a parent right now, mind you, I got a 17-year-old. She's going to be 18 this year. Whew. Goodness, beautiful young lady. Let me tell you, you know what I mean? I will, my children, I tell them all the time, especially when it comes to my babies, my daughters, don't deal with no nigga who play fights. Don't deal with no nigga who hits you. Any person, any man, any individual that hits you, just know I will go to prison for life. If you do not kill him, I'm giving her permission. I'm giving my daughters permission to kill any man that puts their hands on them, because they can get off for self-defense. I will go to life. I will go to prison for life. That's the lesson that I teach with my daughters. So even when it comes to, weed consumption, my 17-year-old, I do want to be open with her. I told her that if she ever wants to, experiment, or if she wants to try weed, you know what I mean? I want to make sure that she's in a safe environment, number one, home, so that she can experience the high. She don't need to be out there first time experiencing weed, high on some bullshit and getting taken advantage of by these punk ass niggas, by these little ass boys and shit like that. You know what I mean? So saying that to say, me as a parent, that's my angle. I don't want to be one of them parents who is closed off, so their child is going behind their back. Their child is doing everything behind their back. You know what I mean? I'm not one of them, or I'm not designed to be one of them parents. But every parent ain't the same. Every parent don't parent the same. Every child don't feel like they can be open enough to come talk to their children, to come talk to their parents, to come talk to their parents about weed smoking, experimenting with it, talking to them about it, learning something from their parents about it. And that's what we here. That's what we are here for. What the fuck? That's what we as parents are here for. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. I don't think that there's too many parents who would agree and feel that same way. They like, shit, my child don't need to have nothing or do nothing and say nothing about weed or where weed or how weed or when weed. Fuck weed. I know some parents who's like, weed is a sin. Not in my house. So they do it outside your house with all their little friends. Once the behavior starts changing with your child, then you want to wonder what's going on with your baby. Is introducing weed to your children bad? And I mean, it could be something as simple as teaching them early that, your brain is still developing. Smoking weed retards your brain growth development. It slows it down. So if you start smoking early, by the time that you hit age 25, your brain will function at a 20 to 18-year-old capacity. That's introducing weed to your children early. Especially, I'm in Colorado. Weed, it's a weed state. It's a weed state. When I was growing up, it wasn't a weed state. It wasn't a weed state. The weed that we have now, nigga, we had the brick back in the day. All right, we had the brick. You know what I mean? It was sticks and seeds. It was sometimes it would, and the good thing about Denver, we still had green Reggie. When I say Reggie, I mean like regular weed, like the shake. What they call it, man, y'all know what I'm talking about. I know white folks and Mexicans, they call that shit something specific. But when I say Reggie, y'all know what I'm talking about. It's the dirt weed, all right? Nowadays, you probably can't even find no Reggie. But I'm saying to say, in Colorado, we still had good Reggie. I've been to New York, all right? They got some dirt Reggie. They got some dirt weed. And when I mean that, I mean, they wasn't smoking purple then. It was more like Bobby Brown. It was dirt. It was brown weed. But they put it in a green baggie. So when you buying it, you're like, oh shit, okay. But you bust that baggie open, boy, you gonna spill out a whole bunch of dirt. All right. So I'm saying that to say Colorado, we still had pretty good Reggie. All right. But nowadays, like I was saying, that Reggie then to what the weed is out nowadays, the level of potency, like we was smoking Reggie back then. And I wasn't smoking like that. I would smoke on occasion, sometimes, whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? But like I told you, I was the drinker. Now I don't drink nothing. You know what I mean? I'm like, you can't pay me to drink. You know what I mean? I'm not a drinker. But then I was the drinker of the crew. But I'm saying that to say like that was it. That was, they say weed is a gateway drug. I haven't tried nothing else outside of weed. I accidentally tried wet one time. Cause we was in the studio. All right, I'm gonna give it to y'all whole honey bun. We was in the studio. We had it was like 10 of us in there. Everybody had a blunt, passing it around, and somebody had put a wet blunt in there. You know what I mean? That's when you dip it in embalming fluid. I ain't know. You know what I mean? So I hit it. My cousin, he was like, "Cuzzo, did you hit this?" I was like, "Yeah, it's a blunt, right?" He like, "Nah, don't fuck with that." So it's too late at that point. You know what I mean? But outside of weed, that was an accidental drug experience. You know what I mean? So that shit don't count. Because never in my motherfucking life I did that shit ever motherfucking again. Period. All right. But outside of weed, I I didn't experience. I never wanted to experience. Coke. Fuck no. I ain't putting nothing up my nose. I cringe when I got to use one of them nasal sprays. You know what I mean? Like, crack. I saw that firsthand. You know what I mean? And number one, going back to coke, I don't even know anybody who got coke. Honestly. So when it's coming back to weed, you know what I mean? Weed has always been what it was to us. We never grew it into something else. And when I say us, I'm talking about all the homies who I got tatted on me. You know what I mean? And these is homies who I grew up with. So, I mean, that's as far as I know. As far as I know. We are all afraid of other drugs. All right. As far as I know, that's my attitude. That's another one of the homies' attitude who I'm closest with. You know what I mean? And another one of the homie, you know what I mean? Like, but that's just from this perspective. That's just this perspective. So coming back down to the question too, is introducing weed to your children. Is it a bad thing? Is it a bad thing? Especially now, considering states and even states across the nation, they're starting to legalize weed in more states. They're not seeing weed as the problem that it was back in the Gap. I don't want to turn this still in prison serving sentences for weed that they had caught in the 80s and 90s and they need to be freed. I'm not going to turn this into that because we know what it is. You know what I mean? We're looking at solutions right now because my number one question, my first question with introducing weed to your children, is it bad? We at the end, we are going to look at solutions. We are going to talk about solutions. I remember one day sitting down and showing my daughter how to roll up a blunt. I was joking. I didn't know that she was paying attention like she was. She was paying hell of attention. Hell of attention. Hella. All right. As parents, how open are you to having this conversation with your children? As parents, how open are you to having this conversation with your children? Now, coming back as a whole, let me ask, is weed bad? Is weed bad? Let me let that sit for a minute. Is marijuana bad? Y'all heard of anybody who OD'd from weed? And I ain't talking about, I'm just talking about weed smokers, weed consumption. I ain't talking about like edibles, wax, the keef, all that extra potent shit. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about flowers. You know what I mean? The actual flowers that you do nothing else to but let it sit so it can dry, so it can break it down and roll up. The flowers. No compressing, no anything extras, nothing. Is weed bad? And I want you to look at it from the community standpoint because I'm asking that question because it seems like nowadays everybody. I'm glad that Omni don't smoke. I'm gonna just say that. But it seemed like majority of everybody is smoking. And it's crazy because it's like the first thing that is like to do like it's almost like a ultimatum type of thing when I do step into relationships is if the woman or who I'm dating is smoking, they gotta quit. I don't do daters on date smokers. We can chill, we can pose, we can, you know what I mean? That was like my first thing, and that comes back down to, the relationship that I had with my mom towards the end of that relationship. You know what I mean? But even with me, cutting all that out in the beginning, looking at still, is weed bad? Why didn't I want to date no weed smoker? Being one. That's a whole nother conversation. But you got babies out here smoking. They thought the dispensaries was going to make it hard for these babies to get weed. You got babies going to school high. They saying they can't focus. They can't do school unless they high. And I'm sitting up here thinking like, damn, how did we get through school sober as hell? If they can't get through school unless they're high. What are they putting in this weed nowadays that have these babies thinking that have this stranglehold on them to believe that if I don't smoke, I can't eat. To believe that if I don't smoke, I can't focus to do this homework. To believe that if I don't smoke, I'm going to be mad as hell. So many reasons that I've heard from these youth on why they're smoking. At such a young age, too. We were, and to put it out there, too, we were, when I say we, again, I'm looking at my homies and myself. After school, we was into after school clubs, you know what I mean? Staying engaged in something positive. It was something, you know what I mean? Most of the time we was just there because we heard that there was snacks. They had the ruffled chips, you know what I mean? With the sour cream and onion dip, intimate. And they had the Oreos, and they always let us leave with the extras, you know what I mean? So we was always in those programs. We wasn't out there after school at the park chilling, smoking with the homies. We wasn't out trying to bag a little, you know what I mean? We wasn't calling them thotties, you know what I mean? We was calling them rats. What it was? Cold rats, all right? You know what I mean? We wasn't out there bagging or trying to bag little rats, you know what I mean? Some of us weren't, but we wasn't trying to get them high so we can crack them down either. You know what I mean? That wasn't the move. So even looking at how easily accessible weed has become throughout the years, I believe in terms of that, yeah, weed is bad. Yes, I believe that weed, youth should not be smoking like they do, how they are, before they are old, I'm 25, fuck it. I said it. No, I didn't do it. No, I didn't do it. I didn't know better. And the crazy part is, a lot of these youth, a lot of these babies, they know better, and they still like, if the world is smoking, I'm going to smoke. And right now, the world is smoking. And a lot of people love being of this world. For what reason is way beyond me. But for so many folks to follow a wave, and it's crazy because even looking at the ones who like, shit, I've been smoking all my life. I've been smoking since the 70s. Why am I going to stop now? Try doing something different. I don't want to tell you to stop smoking. I don't want to tell you to stop smoking. I'm tell you to I'm gonna tell you to number one. If you were in school, number one, I'm gonna scratch that. Number one, if it's having a negative effect on you, if it is having a negative effect on you, meaning you have no motivation, you have no drive. The first you'll spend your last dollar on some weed instead of a sandwich. Can't keep a job type of shit. If there's a problem with your behavior and it's surrounding weed, there need to be a reevaluation. But if you are smoking and if you are able to do everything and grow everything and continue to move everything, is weed bad? Is weed bad? Let's look at it like this too. In the state of Colorado, weed, they got dispensaries. You can go in there and order some weed like you can order a Big Mac at McDonald's. They got these dispensaries in the state of Colorado. All right. In the state of Colorado, I can post myself having a drink from a 40 ounce or a drink from a bottle of hen or you know what I mean, a bottle of whatever on social media, and it won't look bad. But it's Colorado as well too. I mean, if I post a picture of me rolling up, boy, oh boy, they will have a fit. They will have a fit. So again, is weed bad? How come we can post pictures of us drinking and out in bars and stuff like that, getting drunk and shit that leads to crazy behavior? But when it comes to weed smokers, you know, folks, they'll frown upon you if you come in smelling like you just finished a blunt. That's crazy. I'm just asking the questions right now. That's all I'm doing. I'm just asking the questions right now. All right. Is weed bad? Look at it like this too. Again, we looking at Colorado, where they have a plethora of dispensaries. A plethora. Plethora means a whole lot. You know what I mean? And I know of one black dispensary owner in the state of Colorado. So looking at, you know, the business side of weed sales, because I know all these white folks, they weren't selling weed before weed became legal. But now all of a sudden, the weed industry is over 90% white ran, over 95% white ran. Where's the black folks at when it comes to the weed industry? I know that they say you got to have revenue in order to get in. Is that the way these white folks are getting in? Yes. But how come it's not easier to get into it? How come these roadblocks? I mean, I'm asking questions that I already know the answers to. You know what I mean? They don't want us in that industry, period. All right. They want us to be workers, not owners. You know, that's always a move. That is always a move. So making it harder for us to be owners. It almost seems like, you know what I mean, that it was designed that way, which my belief it was. But coming into it too, there are still black folks in the city with money. How come they are not getting into that field, into that industry? How come? I'm just trying to see, number one, how come, or how can we shift even just a little bit? You know, I'm not looking at weed as a negative. I'm not looking at it as a negative at all. We get weed money to do some of the work that we do with our nonprofit through the 2A boost. You know what I mean? I'm not against weed at all. I voted no on 64 when they was on the ballot and shit like that to become legalized. I voted no on that shit because I saw at the end of the day it wasn't going to benefit us as a culture. Us, you know, it's gonna benefit them as a culture. You know, it's gonna keep us as the consumers. All right, and that right now is my number one problem with weed smokers. There's not enough sellers. There's too many consumers. You know, too many folks who selling their own product and want to sell weed too. Too many folks who want to sell weed illegally in a weed state. You know, these are black folks. They still want to sell weed. They still want to sell weed in a weed state. All right. And mind you, their clientele is not adults. Because I used to get some deal. I used to just cop from the homie just cause he was the homie. You know what I mean? Like, shit, let me still support you. You was who we used to get our bud from back in the day. You know, when nobody else had no bud, I knew I can count on you. You know what I mean? But it just came down to where I was spending more money on a product that wasn't as good and I wasn't sure of the process of it. You know what I mean? Versus me going to the dispensary, me hearing about the process, me learning more about the process, me getting educated on what weeds they have in there, and me being able to select whichever weed that I want. Is weed a problem? Again, coming back to that question. Is weed bad? Real simple. Is weed bad? I know still in the elders' minds, and a whole lot of elders' minds, weed is the devil. Someone don't like that damn weed. Them damn blunts. But why? I know some people who can smoke all day, work all day, parent all night. Is weed bad? I know some folks who will smoke and keep smoking and eventually now they smoking crack. I've seen that too. I used to call him the homie. You know what I mean? He used to chill at the crib. Wake up every morning bumping Sally Cell. You know what I mean? At the crib. Now you're head. Cause he ain't had no weed to smoke. Oh man. Let's come back down to my first question that I had asked, because I'm getting ready to wrap this up. All right. Is introducing your weed to your children, to your child, bad? Because that is all in itself a solution as well. And I shared why earlier. Is introducing weed to your children bad? As kids, is having a conversation about weed to your parents, is that hard? I'm just asking these questions. Just asking these questions. I know some parents, it's harder than, I know it's harder than some parents, but I also know too that some parents are open. We got to put assumptions aside. We gotta put all that shit, all the assumptions. We got to put all the excuses, everything, all the complaining, and have these conversations. Because at the end of the day, especially in Colorado, weed is not going anywhere. Weed is not going anywhere. All right. If anything, it's only going to grow. It's only going to grow. My opinion is have these conversations with your children. If you are a weed smoker, have these conversations with your children. Your children are not dumb. They are not, you don't have to try to hide it from them. They smell what's going on. They see what's going on. Don't be open. You know what I mean? Have these conversations. All right. But I ain't got nothing more. Oh man, I ain't even been sipping my tea at all. I got a whole cup of tea. And it's still warm. Sure, I'm out here. All right, y'all, Malcolm out there. Peace.